What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex. In this video, I just want to vent. I watched The Witcher Season 3, Part 2, which really, it wasn't very even, right? So Part 1 was the first 5 episodes. Part 2 was only 3 episodes. You'd think they would have wanted to cut it literally in half. Instead, they didn't do it. But I watched it, and while we reviewed Part 1 on this channel, actually about like a week ago, I thought instead of reviewing Season 3 as a whole, because my opinions didn't really change all that much. I thought Episode 6 was pretty darn good, and it's because it was so much fighting. And then 7, I thought was pretty bad. 8, I thought was pretty bad. And just the season in general, I thought was pretty bad, pretty unnecessary. Again, another sign of just not caring and just going kind of in a different direction. So I thought, well, all right, there you go. There's my recap of Season 3. I want to talk about Henry Cavill and this fumbling of the bag that they did with him as Geralt. It makes me furious. So the first thing I did yesterday when I watched these 3 episodes, right? I watched them at night, and then behind me, there's the green screen, but if you watch before I started doing the green screen, the kitchen's back there, and there's kind of an island, and I like to pace. I pace a lot in my day-to-day life, so I walked around that island for about 20-25 minutes, just kind of like thinking, like doing almost nothing. I was on my phone, I guess I was scrolling through Twitter, but I was preoccupied with my thoughts of Henry Cavill, and I was just very sad. Like, well, number one, it's very sad with him in general, how I guess Hollywood has kind of treated this man. It's not just Geralt, it's also Superman, right? Though everything that's happened with his Superman, I think he's a perfect fit. Now you could say, well, obviously, like the dark kind of iteration of Superman versus a light, I think he could have done either perfectly fine. I didn't really care. I just kind of wanted to see him more as Superman. You think about James Bond going forward, probably the universe is just going to say no on that one, right? It's too good of a thing. It's so good of a thing. I think the universe is just going to say, nope, you don't get to have nice things. And then obviously him as Geralt, I saw a tweet that talked about like, you think of some like iconic castings throughout Hollywood history. And I mean, yes, like this might be smaller in like the zeitgeist than some other, big kind of linkings, but I think he is one of the perfect castings we've seen in modern Hollywood for these kind of like entertainment things that span across more than just shows, right? You got Witcher with the shows, the books, the games. I think you really couldn't have done a better job finding him as Geralt, a person that he looks the part, he sounds the part, he is Geralt. He cares. That's another thing. See, modern day Hollywood, and we're getting there. We're getting to why I think they fumbled it massively with him. This is a man who sincerely cares about Geralt. He sincerely cares about The Witcher. And then what you also have is everybody behind The Witcher that just flat out doesn't care. It made me furious hearing the whistleblower kind of stuff, right? These people that say they worked on the show and they've left since or whatever, that talk about the blatant disrespect that they have for the source material. It's shocking how bad, right? I mean, for those that didn't remember or didn't hear, right? So what we've basically heard is they don't like the books, they don't like the games, they almost feel like jealous of them, they want to do their own thing, they want that to be what's kind of known, and they're just very disrespectful in that way. And then obviously there's all this spinning out kind of stuff when we've heard stuff that Henry Cavill has obviously fought very, very hard to keep things in line with how they should be, and then the backlash that he's gotten, and then some cast people or some like production members have obviously told on him that, oh, it's because he's a guy and they're girls and there's this power dynamic, and it's all a bunch of garbage, and it just leads to the simple fact that they don't know what they're doing. They're not qualified for the job. They're not able to do the job, and it's a pathetic effort. This is now the 3rd time, and like, look, one day I do want to rewatch it because I really like Season 1. Thinking back, now I haven't watched Season 1 since Season 1 came out, so it's been years, and obviously like hearing this stuff I guess has also kind of soured me, but I didn't mind Season 1 really all that much at all. Season 2 was definitely where like the red flags were first starting to come out, where it's like, okay, what are you doing? You again, like, you have him. You have the best thing that you could possibly have, and like, I understand how important Yen, and I understand how important like Siri are to the story. I saw the quote with that they said Siri is the main character, and that's going to be kind of the way going forward, that it's her story. And I mean, yeah, playing Witcher 3, let's say, right, Wild Hunt, like Siri is kind of the main character. You play as Geralt, but she is a main character. She is the main character. I understand that. I would just say, well, number one, Siri gets some incredibly boring things to do pretty consistently throughout the entire series, including including season 3. They just didn't. I like the actress. I think Siri as a character is rather good. I just feel like they can't do anything with her that's not a snooze fest. Yen, I think, is really good. I've always really liked her. Well, how they used her with Siri, I guess, in season 2, I was not a fan of. Season 3, I think they fixed it. I would say that was rather fine. But Geralt, they just have never understood, I guess, how to use the guy. It was almost more insulting that, in season 3 he loses his last big fight, right, in episode 6, and then he's on the mend all of episode 7, and then he fights a group of guys in episode 8, and that's it. That's his story, and that's how you leave Henry Cavill. And it's disturbing. It's disturbing that you had who you had and you couldn't have done anything better. But again, like, I keep circling back because it's a separate thing, but it also connects that they themselves just don't care. They don't care about The Witcher, the books. They don't care about The Witcher, the games. They care about just a really generic fantasy kind of medieval thing. That's what they're trying to do. I've even seen people, say it on Twitter or other social medias. This is just a generic with some names attached or some familiar faces where you say, I remember why it's still The Witcher because Geralt's in it or Siri, like things like that. But there's a lot of this show where it could be anything. It could literally be any fantasy kind of elements show, and you would have no idea what it is. You just know that it's in that kind of genre, right? And it's sad. It's really sad because you had, I would say, very good source material to go off of. You could have just, even if you didn't want to do the books, you could just do the 3 games, spread them out, do like 2 seasons per game or whatever. And I think that would have been golden as well. I think that would have made Henry Cavill rather happy. And instead they didn't. There are good moments like episode 6 with the fighting. I think there is some pretty cool effects. I think the fighting, whenever Geralt fights, I mean, you can tell Henry Cavill is giving it his all. The sword, the actual like movements of it and the choreography of it, I think is incredibly good. There are some good elements, but at the end of the day, well, I feel very sad and very hurt that like they just could never figure this thing out. But it's also because they didn't really want to figure it out, right? That's the whole point. They're not really in it to figure it out. They're trying to do their own thing and they're failing. So I'm sad, and it makes me like furious that this is how you're ending it. And then if there is a season 4, which I want to say, in just a second, but if there's a season 4, with Hemsworth, I'm not going to watch that. There's absolutely no way. Geralt was really the only reason, or Henry Cavill as Geralt was really the only reason I was watching it. And the only reason why I put myself through season 3 is, okay, no matter how bad it can get at times, and this was before I watched it, right? No matter how bad it could be, like going into it, this is his last ride, right? This is his last rodeo. So let's see what they do with him, or let's just see more good performances from Geralt. And it delivered. It absolutely delivered. Anytime he's in the show, he elevates it massively. But on the other side of things, I actually feel rather fine because I'm not just checking out. I think large amounts of the audience are checking out. There was a drop from season 1 to season 2. I think people were done with it after even season 1. Even a season that, again, in retrospect, I think was good, but maybe rewatching it, I won't think is good. I don't know. But, season 1 I thought was fine. There was still a drop from 1 to 2. Then there was another huge drop, between 2 and 3. Okay, so I think people already were done with the show going into season 3, partially because of what they did with 1 and 2, partially because of Henry Cavill, all that. After watching this, then to go into season 4, will people even watch it? Will it even get renewed? There's all the talk that it's going to happen, and he's reading the books, which it's like, well, why are you even doing that? They don't care about the books anyway, so you might as well save your time and not do that. He's doing physical activities, right, to get himself ready. Are they confirmed to actually be doing it? Because I don't know. Netflix may pull the plug. It's very expensive to make this show, and if it continues to get less viewers, I can't see Netflix being like happy about that, right? Maybe they'd be a little upset. So I don't know if it'll even make it to a season 4. It doesn't really deserve it, to be honest, and I won't watch it anyway. But what I probably will do is I'll either watch clips or I'll watch like the first episode. Give me one episode. Let me just see what kind of a train wreck. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine, like, just looking at him. I can't imagine Geralt looking anything else in live action. It's sad. Like, it truly, I'm not lying with that. You can ask my wife about, the pacing back and forth for like 20 minutes. I do that. That's like a normal thing for me. But in this case, I was just kind of thinking about, I feel bad for this guy. I feel bad for him for Superman. I feel bad for him for Geralt. I feel bad for anybody that cared about the show to be a legitimate kind of like retelling and just a new way or different way of telling The Witcher, because I mean it was a new way for sure because it wasn't actually The Witcher, but it is what it is. I suppose another franchise tried to be done in a new way that they failed. It's not new for Hollywood. It happens all the time. You let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure as always you're subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.